All right, it looks like we have a couple more people joining us, but we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I'm Christy with Daxko, and we are so excited you joined us today for our document storage webinar. We have a bunch of people registered for today, so just some quick housekeeping. We're going to keep you all on mute, but please feel free to send questions via the Q&A feature or in chat. And we will be answering those as we go, as well as dedicated time at the end for some Q&A. And then this is also being recorded, so if you want to share this with any of your team members, we'll be sending it out tomorrow as a recording. So we'll go ahead and get started. So today we are presenting with Becki Irby, who is our product manager for Daxko Operations. She is a rock star, and she's going to take us through this new solution, as well as some ways it helps your team. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Becki.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I also realized that today is month end, so I especially just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. We are so excited to share this functionality with you about our latest product on our Daxko suite of products. This is fully integrated within Daxko Operations and Daxko Accounting, so we're just really excited to roll this out to all of you, show you what it looks like, and talk about next steps for those associations that are interested in this solution. So the first thing that we want to cover is why we took on this project. As you likely know, there are 100 plus things that we can be working on at any moment. And so oftentimes we have to choose between what's most important. And for us, what makes this project incredibly important is the physical space that you all need within your offices. We've been on site with you. We know how crucial every inch of space is. Also, the increasing amount of paper that comes into our businesses and even our homes. I can say even with mail, checking mail daily, I get tons more than I ever did 5 years ago. And tons of paperwork is coming in, and you need a way to not just store that so it's not taking up physical space, but you also need a way to keep some of that information sensitive. And so this is a crucial project, one we wanted to work on for several years, and the timing was right. And so we want to share more with you about that. A few extra things that we want to cover that are really important in both Daxko Operations and Daxko Accounting. We want to make sure that we are reducing and consolidating the amount of tools that you work with. So we know that many of you right now are using solutions like Dropbox or a shared drive within your association, and you're creating folders for different branches or centers, and then within those folders for different membership types, and within those folders for members. And that all takes a lot of setup and management. It also requires a lot of searching when you are ready to find that document, when there's something that you need to search for. And so we want to provide efficiency. That is one of the main, it's probably my favorite word. I love efficiency. We want to make sure we're providing that to your associations, both for your membership teams, program teams, but also for those teams that are managing your accounting software, for those of you that use Daxko Accounting. We also know that security is crucial. We'll talk a little bit about this in a moment, but we know that security is crucial for all data. And member forms, or images in member forms, are another type of item that needs to have security around it. And then probably the thing that really gets me excited, I think as I have shown this solution to several of you and some sneak peeks while doing research, it's also been the thing that gets you most excited, is improving the online experience for your members and your program participants. So that is a really exciting piece of this that we will cover today as well. Let's go ahead and look at our agenda for the day. So pricing, we're going to start off there because that's the first question that you all ask me when we get on a call. So we're going to start out by talking about pricing. And then we are first going to cover Daxko Operations before we move into Daxko Accounting. We know that not every association has both Daxko Operations and Daxko Accounting, so we will definitely lead with Daxko Operations and then get to Daxko Accounting. And as Christy mentioned, we have some dedicated time at the end to specifically spend some time answering your questions. This is going to be a feature that grows and grows over the years, and so we know that there are probably a lot of items on your wish list, things that would make this even better in the future. And we are so excited to hear from you. We have several members of our development team and design team that have logged in today, so we can see that valuable feedback from you. So let's move into pricing and let's talk about how this impacts your association. This pricing model is a shared pricing model. What that means is, for those of you that use both Daxko Operations and Daxko Accounting, you will be tiering into this level based on an upload count per month across both products. So for example, if you use Daxko Accounting and you have 300 uploads in the month for Daxko Accounting, but you have maybe 1,200 uploads in Daxko Operations, we will combine that count to decide which tier you land in at the end of the month. And so in the month of October, we'll be counting the number of uploads. You will be able to also have full transparency to see the count of your uploads through event logging. And then we will be in the following month deciding which tier you landed in for that month of October. So in November, we would know which tier you landed in for October. This is really important to us, and the reason that we wanted to make sure that this was something that was fluid instead of a set price is that we wanted to make sure that in those seasons where you see major increases in activity, for example, January, where you probably have more joins or more upgrades that are occurring, that in that season when it's natural that you're probably taking in more paperwork that needs to be uploaded, that is probably going to be a higher tier month, whereas other months with your seasonality will change and land in a lower tier. The other thing to call out here that's really fun for us, we wanted to make sure that all of you have that first 99 uploads every single month for free. So if this is something your association is interested in, it's something that you want to try out, you have the ability to control within permissions, and we'll show that in a moment, which users have access to this so that you can limit and maybe stay within that first tier as you all are gaining familiarity and setting up your standard operating procedures. The last thing to mention here around this pricing model that was really important to us, we did a lot of research with other document storage solutions, some that many of you are using, some that we have used in our personal lives or in other former work lives. We did a lot of research, and a lot of those are by license. Essentially, they would say, for your association, if you have 5 people across the association, this is the price that you pay monthly, versus if you have 15 people or 30 people. We wanted to fully move away from pricing this in such a way that it limited the amount of users you could enable this functionality for. It is guarded by permission, so you will have the ability to choose which staff members have access to this, but we wanted to make sure that, that we did not go with a model that maybe limited all of you from being able to roll out the system that makes the most sense to get these documents in to this upload area, whether it's online or in-house. So this is our introductory pricing, and with that, let's go ahead and start talking about Daxko Operations now. So Daxko Operations, one very important thing around this is a little bit different than Daxko Accounting. Daxko Operations, we want to make sure to provide something that's very configurable for your association. Not all document types and setup will be the same for every association. You have different SOPs based on your state or your insurance provider or certain business practices that you have at your association. You might have very different document types. And so we want to make sure we can customize this for all of you. So there is kind of this introductory setup that we will do. And I first want to talk about, you'll notice this column that says confidential. So I want to make sure we talk about this a little bit with sensitive information. So the Daxko team knows how incredibly important privacy of data is. And each association and each individual in our database requires and deserves incredible amount of security. So when we decided to add on this functionality to store documents and contain personal information potentially, we definitely knew that that deserved a really thorough review with our security and compliance team. And we are so glad that we have them here at Daxko. As a result, at their recommendations, we've added multiple permissions. We also have an auditing report that we'll discuss in today's webinar. And we also have some document rules for these items that are confidential. So this column that you see here, to determine what each association is going to see based on the permissions that are available. And this allows each association to create those best practices and standard operating procedures for your team and for your members. This type of sensitive information could be related to things like a payment method or financial statements, health information, or any other personally identifiable information, similar to things that are put into our database from fields that exist on a membership record. And so we want to make sure to ensure each association that we built this feature with security in mind. Is highly important to us. So let's talk about this confidential status. These document types, you are able to work with our team to name these. For example, we might have something called a membership form. Now, that membership form could be a hold form, a termination form, an upgrade, a downgrade, could be a renewal. There are lots of types of membership forms, but you would be able to decide that membership form is what makes sense in the list of document types available to upload for your members or for your staff members. Then we would be able to say, which module does this apply to? And this is a great thing to have in the base layer of these document types so that we can build onto this feature in the future and smartly display, based on the action you're taking in the system, which forms might be most likely that someone's uploading. The confidential status means that any document that has that confidential status requires the highest level of permission to be able to view any information on the image of the document. So for example, a financial assistance application. This is the most common example that we hear when we are doing research, is our financial assistance process is the most important thing for us to, one, keep secure, and two, have a process that doesn't require someone coming into the facility and having a conversation, you know, in the welcome center, for example, about some of their financial needs. We really would love for that to be something that can be handled online with a standard practice. So if a document like a financial assistance document that has information about income or tax information or a pay stub, that type of information could be marked as confidential so that you know from the very beginning, no matter if it's uploaded by a member or a staff person, that that document is going to require the highest level of security to access in the system. Okay, let me pause here because we're going to jump into the demo next. Let me make sure that we answer a couple of questions. We had a great question. I'm not sure who it came from. It's an anonymous attendee, but we do have a question around upload for each sheet of paper. No, the upload is per file. So we'll get into the file size here in a moment and the different file types that can be uploaded, but it is not a per paper, per sheet of paper. It is per document or a file that's uploaded. And then we have the question of the role, would this pricing tier, we talked about pricing a moment ago, is it something that is a rolling price or is it something that we average over time? So it is a rolling price. We are actually going to take the specific amount in the month of October, for example. In the month of November, we would then know which tier that landed in. So it is going to, it's meant to be very seasonal so that in those seasons where you likely have a ton of things going on and a higher upload count, you would land in a higher tier, but in a lower month of activity, you might be in one of those lower tiers. So it is definitely meant to be seasonal and fluid. Okay, so with that, Christy, I'm actually going to share my screen and we are going to do some demoing here in Daxko Operations so that you can see what this looks like. And again, we'll do Daxko Accounting here in just a moment. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so in Daxko Operations, let's first talk about permissions. And then let's also talk about online settings. So I keep mentioning that people can upload documents online, and I know you probably have several questions around that. So if we go into Manage Users in this section of the system, we have added 2 additional permissions for you to look at for your existing users of the system, and they are in the System Options section of permissions. These 2 permissions are never going to be force selected. They are always going to be things that require a manual selection from your staff, but they can be added to roles, and that is View Documents and Documents Admin. Those are our 2 layers of permissions. View documents, we'll go into specific details, but just to give you an overview of these two, view documents is for people that they don't need to see confidential documents, they don't need to archive or delete documents, but they can upload documents, and they can also see document images that are not deemed confidential by those document types we looked at a moment ago. Documents admin, they have access to do anything and everything when it comes to documents in the system. Additionally, when I mention online, you might be thinking, Becki, that sounds great in the long term, but when we first start using this, we'd really like to get our process solid in-house with our staff and our team before we start allowing people to upload documents online. Totally get that. So we have an online setting that allows you to determine whether or not members can see the document section of the online account. And of course, just like all the other online settings for adult records or child records, you can choose what's most appropriate for your association, but this allows you to decide when you roll this out to your members. We know that that's really important to so many of you. With that, let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of uploads. So I am going to look up the most popular person in our house right now, which is Queen Elsa. We're big Frozen fans. So let's take a look for Queen Elsa, and let's take a look at how document storage might work. A moment ago, I mentioned that we have these two permissions, but it's also important to note that if a user has access to get to a membership information page, they will have access, even without those two new permissions, they will have access to see this new page called Documents. And the reason for that is, even if they do not see anything within the new Documents area, they might need to help a member that's calling in or has a question or stops by the Welcome Center. Maybe they say, hey, I think I uploaded this. Can you make sure you all have it on file? Those Welcome Center team members might need to be able to see the list of documents, but not actually be able to see the document image or take any actions within the new documents page. So that would be available without either of those permissions. Now we are going to be looking at the highest level of permissions with this new documents page. This new page is going to have multiple actions on it. And so we'll talk a little bit about what you get if you kind of have that top level admin access versus if you just have the view documents permission. So this new page, again, it's going to house all documents for the membership. You can filter by member. So if you need to choose only one member, you have the ability to do so. Let's go ahead and practice uploading a document here. So we're going to upload new document. We have several of these document types set up. I showed you earlier some examples that we set up. Might not make the most sense for your team, but I think it's what works best for us. So you do have the ability to either browse for these files or drag and drop these from the machine that you are working on. So what we're going to do, we are going to name this document type that we are just testing this, and this is going to be our membership join. Okay. Our document type, we're going to select that this is a membership form. So here's an example of why you probably want to keep this list of document types somewhere between 4 to 9 documents to make sure this list doesn't get too long, but we are able to select membership form. We can also select which member this document is for specifically. And then I'm just going to browse for files and select our membership application. You'll notice here the file specifications. So to the question earlier about is it per page or per file, it is per file. You can use JPEG, PNG, or PDF files. We have, I think, a really generous size for the maximum file size, but it can be up to 5 MB. That is, I think I uploaded, my sample was a 15-page camp packet. Those are the ones that likely are the longest packets or files that you might be uploading. And it was not even a fifth of that size in the test that I've been using. So I think that file size, we should not be running into you reaching that file limit often, but those are the files that would be allowed, and it can be a very large file size of multiple pages. Once we've attached that file, we have the ability to save this document, and now it will appear in that list of documents. And then if we have that lower level of permission, it says view documents, We'll be able to upload that, but we will not see this auditing report that we'll discuss momentarily, and we will not be able to see things that are archived. We also will not be able to take additional actions. So this is my membership join packet that I just uploaded. Here I'm able to see the image of the document, and I have several actions. So I can choose to edit, which allows me to rename the document. Maybe I selected the wrong document type, but I can also archive this document. Why is archiving important? We know that even if a document's not marked confidential, there might be scenarios where as soon as you finish processing that document, you want to actually archive it so that it's not readily available for those that have only the view documents permission. As soon as this document is archived, it is going to move to this new tab, and in that new tab, we'll see that document only if we have the higher level of permission. Also, once something is archived, it may also be deleted. Any document must first be archived before it can be deleted. We do have also a setting when we configure this for your association. We have a setting that auto archives documents. So from the time of upload, let's say that you only want something like a membership join packet or a membership termination letter. You only want that to be in all of the documents for anyone to be able to see with that view documents permission for 7 days before it automatically archives. Without you having to go in and take that action, we can just set that up as the business rule for that document type so it can auto archive for you. And then of course, if you have that high level of permission, you can delete from here. Okay, next let's take a look at an online example, and then I will definitely take a pause to see what questions we're receiving. So let's go and take a look at Anna, Elsa's sister, who's now a queen. They're both queens now. So let's go ahead and take this email address, and we are going to go through an online example here. So we'll go to online, and you can do this at any time. You can do this on your training site or on your live site. If you want to simulate the experience that your members or participants have online, you can always go to online settings and you can open up this page to simulate that experience. So again, we are going to take this email address and log in as Anna. So once we have logged in, we're actually going to see a new message that we added in a release this week to verify an email account. But we will also see in this online account, because in online settings, we have added that ability for your association to choose whether we see documents in the dropdown. Anna is able to see this. We've enabled this for our association. So once she selects documents, she'll see a page that looks very similar to the staff experience. And that is purposeful. We know that for usability, for assisting members or participants that might be calling in to receive some help from your team, you can walk through these steps together. So we'll go through the upload process. One thing to note, you're probably wondering, hey, Becki, like we're a little nervous because we can't control how many people are uploading documents online. You do have the online setting. And then even then, when you roll this out, we do limit the amount of uploads to 10 files per day for any single membership. So there are not many scenarios where more than 1 or 2 files needs to be uploaded on the same day, but we do limit it to 10 just to make sure there isn't a scenario where the upload count increases drastically because someone's uploading documents unnecessarily in their online account. So same process. We can name this our financial assistance application. And we can select our document type along with which member it applies to. And then I'll use browse, but drag and drop is available here as well. We'll select our financial assistance application and save. So your members will have access, if you choose to allow them, they will have access to upload documents on their own. Within the same day, if let's say someone uploaded this document, but maybe they made a mistake, they can certainly make changes, but we want to make sure that those documents can't be deleted if your team is working on something. So we'll lock that down really after the day of their upload. That document would be locked down until your team chooses to archive or delete that item. Otherwise, they'll be able to see that it was successful, that they added that document online. If they want to check on it to see what it looks like, they absolutely can make those checks and also take a look and make changes on the day of the upload if they need to. The other thing to see, if we go back into this document section for Anna in the system, this is real time. So as soon as it's added online, it's available for staff. And we want to make sure that that is a really smooth process, so there's no time delay in being able to access this. Additionally, let's take a look at the event log so you can see exactly what's happened. We'll actually go back to Elsa so we can see all those delete actions as well. So we'll look at the event log for this specific membership, and you'll notice that you are able to see anytime we add a document or archive the document. Also, I meant to go in and show you the delete process, but if you delete a document, you would also be able to see that in the event log to make sure that you're seeing the full process of exactly what's happening as these documents are being managed by your team. So we'll delete this. It'll give us a success message. If we then go back to our event log and view it again, we'll see that delete action. The other thing is we can see who took the action. So we know if it was a staff member. In the example for Anna, if we look at that event log, we know that we uploaded a document online. And so you might want to have a way for your team to know, did somebody upload documents online? And so that's really important to be able to search by that specific event in the event log. So you can look at document anytime there's been an add new event. And if it has the username of online, you know that it was the member that took that action as opposed to staff. And maybe it's a great way for you to know exactly what to go in and take a look at to see what was uploaded and manage those documents from there. One other item to discuss, as I mentioned, an auditing report. So this is a little different than the event log. The auditing report is going to be a report of anyone who viewed the document. So what I mean by viewed the document is, it's not this just shows me like a list of information about the document, but as soon as, regardless of which permissions I have, as soon as I see the document, I put eyes on the image of the document, we are going to record that in an auditing report. And we think this probably isn't something that will be often needed, if ever, for an association, but we want to have it there anyway, back to the importance of security. So for example, let's say that a member feels like they uploaded sensitive information, maybe they did that purposely or accidentally, and they're concerned now of, you know, how many people have seen my information? I'm concerned about this. You have the ability to pull that auditing report and see every single user that has laid eyes on that document ever. And that can add some better security for you and for the members as well. So the auditing report is available to admins only, and it is per membership. So you would be able to go in and see every document that they have on their membership file and anyone who viewed that document. It's a little bit different than the event log. The event log is really taking an action. We wanted to make sure that we're recording even more than that, and it's just anyone who's put eyes on that document. Let me take a pause here because I just went through a ton of functionality and I know there are questions. So let's take a look and we'll try to answer this. Yes, I will specifically thank Ken for adding this great feedback for us to add drag and drop functionality. So we're really excited to have that available. Thank you, Ken. Let's see. We have some questions around agreements. I think, yes, I think, so we do have an agreement function within Daxko Operations. We do know that many associations based on insurance rules or rules within their state sometimes are still collecting a paper document and they cannot move fully to an agreement that is digital. And if those rules are there, absolutely you could use this to upload those documents as well. And we are always listening for updates on that. Let's see, archiving and deleting in bulk. So archiving in bulk, yes, if a document type has the ability to archive, if you set it up to auto archive after a certain number of days, it will absolutely be archiving those in bulk. We do not have deleting in bulk yet, and there are a couple of reasons for that. The first is we want to make sure we know the exact scenarios where we would recommend that or where that would be used, but also once something's deleted, it's deleted. If it's archived, you can still get to that document image, but once it's deleted, let's say you want to delete in bulk a bunch of forms that maybe are from years ago, and you go select them all and you delete them, and then, oh gosh, I didn't mean to select all of those. It is gone once it's deleted, but we certainly would look at enhancing the system in the future if we have those right stories and right solutions that we want to provide. So this is certainly not limited. This is our very first release, so we'll grow it from here. Let's see, is there a setting that would allow to view documents but not upload? So you will be able to see the list of documents and view the rows of data that you can see here on my screen. You could view that row without being able to see the image. We currently do not have a permission that allows you to upload but not see it, or see it but not upload it. So this is just, again, our first release of that. If that is a need, we certainly will look into that. Let's take a look. So we had a great question around, is someone notified? So definitely in the event log, that is a great way to start by knowing who has uploaded documents online. So maybe it's someone's responsibility every single day to come in and to see what documents were uploaded online through that specific event combined with the user of online. That is a best practice. In the future, we definitely have some big ideas for things that would be really cool to do, of notifying staff for certain document types, or for certain dates that something might be uploaded, or certain memberships. There's a lot of ideas for the future, but currently you would use the event log to track that down. So we got a question around restricting file types by document type. So an example maybe would be our camp questionnaires should always be a PDF, but sometimes people might save it as a JPEG. Nothing restricts that today, because based on what someone might have as tools available at their fingertips, the software that they might have, or access to technology, sometimes those document types are converted. So we would not restrict those, but certainly if that is causing problems, we can look at future enhancements for that. View and delete are not the same permission. So view is the ability to see the image, and that is the permission called view documents. Documents admin is a separate permission that's required to be able to archive and then delete items. Great question around documents that are available. So we know just from our research and talking to so many of you, your documents are on your website already, or it's something that you might still mail out or have hard copies at your association. And I would say the most common thing that we hear is it's available on your website. In the future, could we be able to reference something when someone finishes joining? Maybe we reference a certain link that they can go to download the document. Absolutely, that's certainly possible for the future, but it is something that they would probably pull from your website and then upload in their Daxko Operations online account. We received a great question. So while this first rollout is for document images of a physical document that's in hand, that's the most common example, right? Like the documents that are already hard copy that fill up your facilities today and your offsite storage that we know many of you have. We want to make sure to reduce paperwork in that way. But in the future, if you had something that was like a form that people fill out, of course, today we do that through a lot of other avenues around program questions, camp questions, membership forms. But certainly in the future, we would absolutely be open to looking into if there are ways to maybe capture some of the information without it being a document image and be more of a processing document. And then how long are documents stored? They are stored until they are deleted. So the only way that that document is deleted is if someone is deleting that through an action in Daxko Operations. So we will store those forever unless someone has deleted that. So of course, should we ever have these are your document images, there's an exit process. If an association is no longer using our solutions, there's an exit process for that. That would essentially provide these documents en masse. But we absolutely will make sure that as these documents are being added, that we are not deleting those. I won't get into too much of the technical side of this. We certainly can for those of you that have specific questions around it or concerns around it. We do have the ability, when those documents come in, we have a backup so that we make sure that there's no risk on our side of something accidentally getting deleted. However, it's important to note that when we do our training site refreshes quarterly, we are only going to keep that main image in the live site. And then the training site, you can upload test documents into the training site at any time, but we aren't going to create a replica from both the live site and the training site. So the document will live in the live site and we will have a backup of that. Okay, great questions coming over. I want to make sure to jump into Daxko Accounting so we have some time to get into Daxko Accounting. And I want to talk about some things that are available day one and also some things that are already planned to arrive in October. So let's take a look in Daxko Accounting. So we are going to discuss the functionality that is available already, and that's in accounts payable and accounts receivable. So those are the two modules that offer document storage already. So in accounts payable, when someone goes to enter a new invoice, you will see this new area for browsing or dragging and dropping those files into Daxko Accounting. So these invoice images that you might be wanting to store, you're not limited, so you can add multiple in these places, and it's actually the exact same file specification. So JPEG, PNG, and PDF with a max size of 5 MB. So you're able to upload those directly into accounts payable, those invoice images. The same is true in accounts receivable. So if we are, for those associations using that AR module, when we are creating invoices, we have the ability to attach files here as well. So same rules for accounts payable and accounts receivable as far as functionality goes. One really exciting part of this, the team worked so hard on this, is specifically for importing invoice files. This is a function that's available in accounts payable and in accounts receivable. So I'll just show it in one because it functions the same way in both places. So you already have the ability to upload invoices en masse. So let's say you have like 112 invoices that you're uploading. You can use the same CSV file. Nothing has changed about the top parts of this process except for the look and feel. So you can add that CSV file with the specifications that already exist, no changes. However, the invoice number, we were thinking about the process, and if you're creating 110 invoices at once, but then have to still go back and single select every single one of those to attach an image to it, that really defeats the purpose. We've lost our efficiency there. And so the second section of the screen is really important because using this naming convention for a file, you will be able to pull in an entire folder worth of files. So 110 invoices, maybe 87 of those have an image. Once those images are pulled in, you can pull them in one action. They will, based on this naming convention, automatically marry up to the invoice using the invoice number. So that action will take place very fluidly so that this uploading action, this kind of mass action in the system, is still efficient and yet one that you can attach files to en masse. So for example, we have this, this number here. So I'm just going to select browsing, and I just created this September invoices file. So I created all my invoice numbers along with the naming convention of @ so that we could get them uploaded. So all of that works readily available, and I can do that in one mass action. One thing to mention that's coming in October is the ability to add in supporting documentation to journal entries. So if you have manual journal entries, we know many of you provide supporting documentation. you have those available to you and can upload multiple files. So we're working on this now and plan to release that in the month of October. So it should be very exciting. So Daxko Accounting, we also have permissions. It is based on module. So if you want someone to be able to upload documents in AP, but not in AR, or not for down the road for manual journal entries, you have the ability to choose that as well. Okay, so let's take a pause. Let's go ahead and go into our Q&A section of the webinar today. I know there are several questions that are still coming over. I'm just going to pause just for a moment and put myself on mute to look through these questions, and then I will be right back to answer those. So if you do have questions about the functionality, please go ahead and start sending those over, and we will take some time to make sure that we're answering these. And I also have one more exciting announcement I'll share with you in just a minute about ways that you can go ahead and test drive this functionality at your association.
So while Becki is looking through that, I'll do a couple of announcements. As a reminder, this is being recorded and we will send it out to your team as well. And we'll also have some training guides that we'll be including in those emails if it is something that you guys are excited about using and leveraging at your association or agency. So we will have that coming to you soon. And then we're going to dig into some Q&A. If for any reason your question isn't answered or you have more questions, we'll make sure you're connected with immediately afterwards. And then also we will make sure that if you have any questions, you can email marketing@daxko.com and we can direct them in the right way so that you can get all of your questions answered.
Awesome. Let's get to a couple of these. These are great questions. I love all these questions. Before we get into the questions, I'll go ahead and share an exciting announcement. We have added, actually earlier this morning, we added document storage to all of your training sites. So if you have a training site for Daxko Accounting or Daxko Operations, we already have that available in your training site access. Do not forget permissions. So I know that some of you might log in and go, where is it? I know Becki was showing it to me on the membership page. You do have to enable permissions for your user ID first. But once you have those permissions available, you can log in and practice with this. We have added some generic document types. I think it says like membership form, childcare form. So we just added some generic ones, but keep in mind that if this is something you want to add onto your live site, you will get to decide in Daxko Operations what those document types are, and we will help you configure those. So don't forget permissions. You can use this all the way up until November 18th, which is the next day that we have a planned refresh of the training site. So you'll have access already today. You can log in, enable those permissions, and start test driving this. And with that, let's answer a few additional questions. So we got a great question around the system alert. Will the system alert you when you're close to 100 documents? We are actually working on that. We would love for all associations to be able to upload documents until you get to a certain point. So we are working on that, but already you can check to see where you are with your upload count for the month using the event log. So we have that specific action for documents added. We had a great idea for the future. This, I will tell you, is on our short list. So one of the questions we received is for childcare and camp registrations, we know that people need a camp packet. Can we add that document type in some way so that people know that they need to upload it with their registration, or even post-registration, they need to fill out that form, and maybe 60 days before camp begins, we need to have that in. Absolutely, those are things that we are really excited about for the future. Definitely we'll be looking into ways to make this more efficient. The way I try to describe this, you know, as we're building products and trying to add things into the system, there are sometimes, and I know it's the same for you all in your business day in and day out, there are a million competing priorities. We are looking to you as the experts, those associations that are actually already using the solution, those that heard about it early and are already using this, have already provided us wonderful feedback. So the auto archiving, for example, came directly from an association in their implementation process. So we added it because it made sense. And we really are looking to all of you as the experts to help us prioritize those things into the top list of things that mean the most, matter the most, provide the most efficiency. Would document storage slow down any system processing? Absolutely not. It should not in any way. These documents are stored, actually we store them from a technical perspective very much like the signatures that you would use in childcare, those signature images. These images are a little bit larger, but we're storing them in the same way. So there should be no impact to the system overall. When is document upload available for membership files? So it's available today. I think Christy mentioned this just a moment ago, but you can reach out to your account executive. If you aren't quite sure who the account executive is, you can email sales@daxko.com and they can work on next steps with you. But everything that I was showing off in a demo is in our live site. So I was using I was using a test client, of course, Elsa, not quite a real member in the system, but I was using our test data in a live environment. So it's available to your association as soon as you reach out and work with your account executive. Let's see. As far as scanners, we do not have any specific recommendations. I would say there are, thousands of different types of scanners today. I would say whatever one works best for you. The scanner will not impact the way that Daxko Operations or Daxko Accounting receives a file. It will simply affect the way that that file is first saved on your local machine. So before it's ever uploaded into Daxko Operations or Daxko Accounting, no specific, I'm definitely not a hardware expert, but I would just say if the scanner is bringing in images the way you would expect to see them on your desktop or your laptop, then it is going to come into operations and accounting the same way. An option to upload support for deposits such as check copies. We actually in Daxko Accounting, we are looking at additional enhancements in the future. So if you have some ideas around things that you want to say, whether it's grant documentation, it's one thing we've heard, or deposit information, anything that's like a month-end report, if you are interested in that, you can always email me. My email address is Irby or Burby, which is also my nickname here at Daxko, but Burby@daxko.com. You can send me an email if you have some ideas for future enhancements as well, or you can talk to your account executive. We are keeping a very tight loop so we can go ahead and excitedly continue to add things on. The CSV file requirements for AP upload, we actually have in the Help Center documentation on that. If you cannot find it in the Help Center for any reason, or if it's just faster, you can always email support@daxko.com and they can send you those specific file specifications. There is not an overall, we got a question around overall storage limit. So that pricing, the tiers that we showed you earlier around pricing, those tiers are the only prices associated. So there's not like a, if you hit a certain amount of overall file space, there's an additional charge. There's nothing like that. We are going to store what you upload based on that pricing model. So there's not an additional cost outside of that. Let's see, a few more of these. So if there is a childcare or camp document type, so if you build a document type and you select the module that it applies to as childcare camp, all the documents right now will be stored in the same place. The reason that we set up the modules is in the future, as you continue to see growth in this area for your business, we likely are going to need to break up the different modules so that you can limit what a member is seeing or limit what your staff is seeing. We absolutely would be happy to make sure that that is organized and efficient. So back to that being my favorite word, we want to make sure that that is efficient for you. We had a question. Christy, do you mind going back to that pricing slide? I think we had a couple of requests to go back and show that. The storage limit for a single file is 5 MB, so really large file size. The tracking method for number of scans, you would use the event log for that. If we need to add something more robust, some type of report in the future, we can. Pledge forms, absolutely. So you can add a document type that's called donation form or pledge form, and then that document type can be associated with our fundraising module. Absolutely, that's available today. Uploading one file and attaching it to multiple members. We did not have many use cases for that in our research, at least in the initial research, but sometimes what happens in our initial research, we're looking at probably the more common scenarios before we move into maybe some of those, not even necessarily an edge case, but some of the less common scenarios. So we can absolutely continue to look at things in the future that maybe are stored at at a membership level as opposed to a specific member. So the permissions are in the system options section of permissions. So that's where you will find those in Daxko Operations. In Daxko Accounting, you will find those in the user section of permissions. Those can be assigned by role if you wish. In accounting, they're just assigned by module. Okay, I think I got to most of them. As Christy mentioned, if I did not get to your question, there were a lot that came over. So if I did not get to it in some way, please reach out. You can contact your account executive. You can email sales@daxko.com. Or if you have ideas for the future, if there's something that you really feel like, oh, this is going to be a gap for us, we really need this additional solution, and it's something that we're looking at enhancing for document storage, this awesome new product in the future, you can email me, and it's burby@daxko.com, and I will try to be as timely as possible in getting back to you. Sometimes after these webinars, we get a lot of emails in. Okay, I think we got to most of those. If I did not, again, I'm so sorry, but we will have this recording available. When we send this out, we'll also be sending out a brief user guide of how to get started and trying this out on your training site. There will be one for Daxko Operations and one for Daxko Accounting. And our support team is available if you run into any issues at all, if you have any concerns. We will be able to walk you through that on the training site. Otherwise, we are super excited for so many of you that are already getting started with this solution, and for those of you looking at adding it in the near future, maybe before the new year starts. So please reach out to us. We are here to help. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks so much, Christy, as well, for guiding us.
Thank you, Becki. You were great.